Hero worship is defined as a great admiration of someone and the belief that they are special or perfect. In more psychological terms, the worship of a hero reflects the development of what is called ego ideal, a concept that originated with Freud and refers to the exalted image of what or who we would like to be ourselves. We all love heroes, but should we? A hero is a distinctly juvenile aspiration of maturity. Such idolization is often abandoned when we actually reach maturation, but nevertheless, the hero continues to live on in our dreams and in our artistic expression.
Question, observation. It's a children's book, right?
Right.
They are not supposed to scare the living shit out of the children.
This part of the story where our knight, our warrior, is about to slay the one-eyed dragon, that's scary. Besides, my daughter loves this stuff.
In this video, I aim not to explain the hero's journey as popularized by Joseph Campbell in his 1949 book, A Hero with a Thousand Faces. There are obviously many other videos published on that subject. But the purpose of this video is to expose its limitations in storytelling, our psychology, and in the real world. I often state in my essays that stories, particularly the ones that reach popular appeal among broad audiences, are reflections of our real world through our collective unconscious. Not that they are allegorical, although that might be the author's intent. It is more an imperfect reflection in a pond or funhouse mirror, a filter that can exaggerate your insecurities and accentuate your egos. These reflections can also have devastating effects on the unknown observer who does not think critically about the media they are consuming. The hero's journey, as Campbell discovered, is a cultural framework for how humans commonly structure mythology. Today it is used to both create fictional narratives and also critique contemporary stories. I did not learn about the hero's journey until I was in college and well into my adult years.
It completely recontextualized all the films and novels I loved as a child.
I was surprised to learn presently that my children were learning about hero's journey in their elementary school classes. I've helped my children write several reports on how the Percy Jackson novels are examples of a hero's journey. The popular version of a hero's journey, the Campbellian journey we'll call it, is particularly masculine, not just in the name, but also in themes that it brings to storytelling. And what I mean to convey here is that there is a difference between a story featuring a particular gender and a narrative itself being gendered. Many of the ideas I will be discussing on the limitations of the hero's journey comes from fiction author Gail Carriger's book, The Heroine's Journey, which is written to an audience of storytellers promoting the use of an alternative structure of a hero's journey in their work. And that's why I conceived of this essay in two parts, the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. The second has already been completed, but I wanted to write the first in order to conceive my take on the hero's journey in contrast to the heroine's journey. Also, one more time, that it is the themes of the narrative that make a story a hero's journey as opposed to a heroine's journey. I will use several examples of female characters going on hero's journeys in this video, such as The Hunger Games and Wonder Woman, to name a few. As well, there will be examples of male characters going on classic heroines' adventures in my heroine's journey video as well. These names are constructed as dichotomy based on gender, the same way that gender itself is socially constructed and made up, not definitive scientific truth, but from social interaction. As Gail points out in her book, the structure of her heroine's journey can be found in ancient examples of goddesses and demigoddesses in the same comparative mythology that Joseph Campbell used to discover the hero's journey. The hero's journey was not invented by Campbell, but rather it was uncovered, dug up from classic mythological storytelling.
Why the hero with 1,000 faces?
Well, because there is a certain typical hero sequence of actions, which can be detected in stories from all over the world and from many, many periods of history.
Campbell is not a psychologist in his field of study. His field of study was comparative mythology. Mythology, art, and ancient storytelling itself is a form of early psychology. From humans' early existence, we have been a species capable of advanced communication beyond that which other animals could do. Humans are capable of relaying knowledge across generations even before we had advanced written languages. Our ancestors found that information was best remembered if it was contained in compelling stories. A compelling story our ancestors discovered independent of one another has all the central elements that make them rememberable and relatable, and these could be cautionary tales of revenge that are found in Norse myths of Amulet, which Shakespeare adapted into his acclaimed play Hamlet, and was also recently adapted into a film called The Northman.
I will save you, Mother! I will kill you, Fiona! I will avenge you, Father! I will save you, Mother! I will kill you, Fiona!
All are free to gain from a story's tales of triumph and oppression or cautionary tales of hubris that lead to tragedy. However, when we examine a hero's journey structure as a masculine-leaning narrative, certain themes emerge, intrinsic aspects of the structure that promote individuality.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Isolation.
Game, so you and I will be going down at 9.
Well, what about him?
No, he says he wants to be trained on his own from now on.
What?
This kind of thing does happen at this point. There's only one winner, right?
Revenge, savior complex, and success only through conquest, destruction, and violence.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
And these traits are culturally depicted as being masculine. So let's see how these masculine identified traits play out in the steps or story beats in the hero's journey. I have tried my best to distill these elements down to a single word for the purpose of brevity in our further discussion and examples. At its heart, a hero's journey is specifically a story about, first, a hero. That is, a character that is relatable to the audience, a reflection of yourself, who is sometimes a chosen one from a divine birth or a somehow other special. Next is yearning. This is the call to adventure. The hero who lives in a normal world feels incomplete and they long for something. Adventure, fortune, respect. They want a boon. Often they will initially refuse a call to adventure, but later accept the call of their own accord. This shows that they are a reluctant hero, but it is necessary that they are volunteering for the adventure. They are going on it by choice. Next comes withdrawal, sometimes called crossing the threshold. The hero reluctantly enters another world unfamiliar to them. They leave or are withdrawn from their home and their community, and do so voluntarily. Next comes the mentor, meeting a mentor and learning how to adapt to this new world. A mentor is often seen as a failed former or struggling hero themselves. Next comes trial. They face a series of trials or setbacks that further isolate the hero, sometimes withdrawing them further and deeper down into this new world. Temptation. The hero is tempted to take a shortcut or otherwise distracted or set back. Overcoming this temptation hardens the hero's resolve to win at all costs. Boon. The hero achieves their objective or their boon, usually through defeat, death, or conquest of their enemy, but it comes at a great cost. There is a sacrifice to this achievement. Then finally, return. The hero returns to the normal world, but often they return to this home only to live in isolation. They are rewarded, praised, or otherwise honored, but they have changed from their journey. Not all of these steps or elements need to be present in every story or in a specific order for a story to be a hero's journey. Some pointed out that these steps in a hero's journey could represent stages of childhood maturation into adulthood that are also found in coming-of-age stories known as Bildungsroman, right down to the reluctance of a hero to take up the journey to grow up themselves. These steps can mirror the process by which humans achieve a self-actualization, but only to a point specific to the hero's journey. Self-actualization is the process of fulfilling one's potential by becoming the best version of oneself, which involves self-awareness, growth, autonomy, authenticity, pursuit of meaningful goals, and experiences of joy and fulfillment, which can be considered a boon. However, the hero's journey specifically achieves boons through isolation and violence. A hero is definitively self-reliant and inherently violent. The hero can only achieve their heroic victory through conquest, death, and destruction. Our mythological heroes are often in a pursuit of a victory over evil. Evil is often represented in the enemy, making the hero's conquest to kill and conquer justified to the audience. The isolation that is endured by the hero is seen as a necessity, a sacrifice that is needed to defeat evil, but is also representative of evil that lives within the hero themselves. To fully complete the hero's journey is to come to terms with the evil that resides within oneself. In his book, Denial of Death, psychologist Ernest Becker argued that humanity's fear of death is the biggest contributor to cultural and societal achievements in order to overcome or transcend death, to achieve a cultural immortality. This is done through the establishment of heroic systems and symbols. Stories of heroic journeys are those symbols. Well, modern militaries and armed conflicts are those heroic systems where real humans can attempt to live out their dreams of sacrifice in an effort to defeat evil and achieve some sort of cultural immortality. In his next book, which was published posthumously, Escape from Evil, he argued that these heroic symbols and systems contribute more to systemic human evil than they do conquer it. And near the very end of that book, I'm going to quote him here. If men live in myths and not absolutes, there is nothing we can do or say about that. But we can argue for non-destructive myths. This is the task of what would be the general science of society. Please keep that in mind as we explore some of today's cultural depictions of hero's journey. For some examples of this in action, we'll be looking at the critically acclaimed film series adaptation of the high fantasy book series Lord of the Rings. I'll be exclusively talking about the film narrative unless otherwise specified. Starting with our hero, Frodo is a friendly, well-mannered hobbit with a curious mind who lives in an idyllic setting in the Shire.
What news of the outside world? Tell me everything.
Everything? Far too eager and curious for a hobbit. Most unnatural.
Yearning. Frodo, having possessed an evil ring, must leave his home and destroy the ring in Mount Doom.
But it cannot stay in the Shire.
No. No, it can't.
This call to adventure is an example of a heroic victory over evil, but it is distinctly done only through violence and destruction.
It is a gift. A gift to the foes of Mordor. Why not use this ring?
You cannot wield it. None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone.
We cannot use it.
You have only one choice. The ring must be destroyed.
There is no ability to compromise with this evil, and that is what makes it distinctively a hero's journey. Withdrawal.
This is it. This is what? If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Frodo reluctantly enters another world unfamiliar to him. Several times he volunteers to take the ring.
I will take the ring to Mordor.
He reluctantly enters another world unfamiliar to him, but he does so voluntarily. Mentor. Frodo has several mentors. Gandalf, representing a literal magician or shaman, who Frodo follows and often seeks advice from.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide.
There are also mentors with the initial members of the Fellowship, who he looks up to, trains with, and seeks advice from. Trials. Frodo and the Fellowship enter a literal underworld with their guide Gimli, only to find it has been destroyed by the enemy and is now inhabited by an ancient evil. This is the first of several noteworthy setbacks, at least in the first film of the series, such as Gandalf being lost to the Balrog, a sacrifice that further isolates the hero, and then a second when Boromir betrays the Fellowship, which forces our hero Frodo to further undergo isolation, attempting initially to go it alone, only to later be joined by Sam.
Go back, Sam! I'm going to Mordor alone.
Of course you are. And I'm coming with you.
Who later in films he will also isolate himself from.
Go home.
Temptation. There are many temptations that Frodo faces. He is nearly constantly tempted to use the ring to hide from his responsibilities.
Get it off of me, this ring.
I'm giving it to you.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
He is also tempted to give it to others, to rid himself of this evil and this responsibility.
I will give you the One Ring. I do not deny that my heart has greatly desired this.
The final destruction comes at a great cost to Frodo. In the end, even Frodo's heart of a hero is no match for the power of the ring, and is only destroyed through happenstance. He finds himself unable, or without the will to actually destroy it himself, and later on must live with that knowledge and face that evil in himself. The Return. Frodo is honored for his achievement, and he returns to the Shire. But unlike his companion Sam, he lives in isolation.
How do you pick up the threads of an old life? You begin to understand. There is no going back. There are some things that time cannot mend, some hurts that go too deep.
And is ultimately taken away from Middle-earth entirely to the elven afterlife, because he is unable to find peace. Our next example comes from the 2017 film Wonder Woman. And this is a reminder that a hero in a hero's journey can be any sex or gender. That the hero in a hero's journey is referring to the narrative taking on traits that are culturally determined to be masculine, such as isolation and achievement only through acts of violence. And Wonder Woman's origin story, as depicted in this film, is a surprisingly faithful hero's journey narrative. The hero. Diana is a goddess who was born of divinity, a chosen one.
I wished for you so much so I sculpted you from clay myself and begged Zeus to give you life.
You've told me this story.
She is living on an island of Amazonian warriors with great powers, but she also has an overprotective mother that frustrates her, showing her humanity that makes her relatable to the audience. Yearning. Diana is exposed to the outside world via a stranger arriving on her islands, bringing war with him from the outside world. When she learns of this war, she accepts this call to the venture to defeat who she sees as an enemy, the god Ares.
It is Ares who has these Germans fighting. And stopping the god of war is our foreordinance. As Amazons, this is our duty.
Who she believes is causing the human war. She wants a heroic victory over this evil.
And once I find and destroy Ares, the German armies will be freed from his influence, and they will be good men again, and the world will be better.
And she believes the only way is through violence, conquest, and destruction of Ares. She also receives a supernatural sword to aid her in this quest. This leads to her withdrawal. Diana leaves her island community. In this case, her family connections as well, and she moves further into isolation on her quest to defeat her enemy. Mentor. As she enters the outside world, she is doing so with Steve Trevor, who, from his perspective, is his normal world.
Welcome to jolly old London.
It's hideous.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
She also has other mentors, such as Antitope.
You are stronger than you believe. You have greater powers than you know. But if you don't, try hard.
Who died in the inciting incident that originally called her to adventure. As stated, sometimes these things happen out of order. But also Steve Trevor acts as her guide to the outside world, and at several points he tries to limit her actions.
This is no man's land, Diana. It means no man can cross it, all right?
So what? So we do nothing?
No, we are doing something. We can't save everyone in this war.
A hero's enemy is stasis, and this can be brought on by companions. The more people that Diana has around, the slower she moves and the less she is able to act. And she must withdraw into further isolation. Trials. Diana faces several trials, distractions, and setbacks. She also enters into an underworld, so to say, in the form of crossing into no man's land. Temptation. Temptation can come in the form of distractions, such as from a love interest. In this case, the seducer is a man. Often in a hero's journey, the seducer is tempting to lure the hero away from action and into stasis, standing still and forgetting their goals and their objectives.
A gala, I'll need to know how
You're
to
not
dance.
going to the gala.
Of course I am.
No,
Why
you're
wouldn't I?
Well, for one, you don't know how to dance.
Several times, Steve Trevor tries to hold Diana back from completing her mission as she sees it, when he tries to prevent her from going into no man's land or into the German ball.
I could get in.
You're not going in. It's too dangerous.
Too dangerous?
Yes, too dangerous. And you're too
In her final confrontation with Ares, she is also tempted by him to combine their powers and share rule over the human
And
domain.
we could return this world to the paradise it was before them.
I could never be a part of that.
Boone. In the end, Diana faces off against Ares alone. To do so, Trevor must let her go.
It has to be me. I can save today.
Let
No,
me.
you can save the world.
As he must also sacrifice himself. A sacrificial loss to our hero Diana that further motivates her in her defeat of Ares in combat.
Do not deserve your protection!
It's not about deserve. It's about what you believe. And I believe in love.
Returning. The film ends in the modern day. Diana, a demigoddess, has lived an unnaturally long life. But she no longer lives with her community. She now lives in the outside world, alone. And the final shot of the film suggests that the cycle of constant motion and combat will continue for our hero, as it often does for serialized heroes, especially in the comic book format. For our final film example, we will be using the 1975 film Jaws, featuring our hero, Chief Brody, a struggling police chief in an idyllic island community. The Yearning. Brody is tasked with the safety of the community and the tourists of his hometown, Amity. When a killer shark threatens the safety of that community, Chief Brody attempts to protect his community by closing beaches, but is met with resistance for political reasons beyond his own control.
You're either going to kill this animal or you're going to cut off its food supply. Larry, we have to close the beaches. Brody, sick vandalism. That is a deliberate...
Withdraw. With his attempts to close beaches failing to protect his community and his family, Brody is forced to enter the water himself, a reluctant volunteer that seeks to kill the shark.
Don't use the fireplace in the den because I haven't fixed the flue yet. Tell him I'm going fishing.
Remember that in a hero's journey, victory is solely accomplished through conquest, death, or defeat of your enemy. Mentor. There are at least two mentors on the water to guide the land-loving Chief Brody, Mr. Hooper, a marine biologist, and Quint, a rusty old fisherman. Each of the mentors are under their own illusion that they are the hero as well.
Hey, I don't need this. I don't need this working-class hero crap.
You're not going to do this aboard the ship, are you, Mr. Quinn?
Maybe I should go alone.
Oh, it's my party. It's my charter.
Yeah, it's your charter, it's your party. It's my vessel. You're on board my vessel, mate, master, pilot, and I'm captain.
And in this capacity, all three act as individuals and not as members of a team to their own detriment.
Got here. Portable shower or monkey cage? Anti-shark cage.
Anti-shark cage. You go inside the cage, cage goes in the water, you go in the water, shark's in the water. our shark. Farewell.
Trials. The crew of the Orca has several encounters with the shark.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Our heroes' constant demands for help and larger boats to aid in their quest are examples of temptations of Brody to go outside of his own self-reliance in achieving his goal and destroying the shark.
One barrel on him, so we stay out here till we find him again.
Yeah, but we could radio in and get a bigger boat out here.
Hello, Mayday Orca. Coast Guard? Coast Guard, this is the Orca. Do you read me? Coast Guard, this is the Orca. Do you...
That's great! That's just great! Now where the hell are we, huh?
Boone. Eventually, with the ship sinking, Brody, the sea-fearing policeman, must face the enemy alone, conquer his fear, and destroy the shark. Return. Brody faced his fear and conquered his enemy alone, a lesson he will take with him on his journey back to dry land, even though Hooper also survives and returns with him. In conclusion, let's explore the hero's journey's effects on contemporary fiction. By the very limitations of the hero's journey, the contemporary hero is driven by conquest and revenge. They increasingly isolate themselves and choose to take action only through violence. There is never an idea of compromising. Frodo is unable to compromise with the evil of the ring.
Destroy it!
The ring is mine.
Diana is unable to negotiate with Ares.
Want to fight you. Well, if I must.
A being of pure rage and destruction himself.
Chief Brody?
Yes?
I just found out you knew there was a shark out there. You knew it was dangerous. You let people go swimming anyway.
And Brody, despite all his best efforts, is unable to protect his community in any other way besides destroying the shark.
Are you going to close the beaches?
Yes, we are.
Only 24 hours.
I didn't agree to that.
Only 24 hours.
Heroes in these stories are in near constant motion, particularly in serialized storytelling, as explained before with comic books. When a hero's journey is taken into sequel stories or continuations of that story, the hero then finds themselves in an almost nightmare-like state of constant motion, unable to find rest in between trials, setbacks, boons, and further calls to adventure. They are only tempted by domestic life or stasis, unable to enter the home world of domestication and stasis. It is only in total isolation that we often find our discarded heroes, the ones who escape the journey and now live in hiding alone. They live in fear of their enemies that they made along their journey, or they fear the journey themselves, finding them again and dragging them into further plots of conquest, revenge, death that no longer appeal to them. But remember, the hero's journey is not the only path that we can take.
Matches are worse.
That boy is our last hope.
No. There is another.
Please join me in my next video essay where I'll be discussing the heroine's journey. This has been a production of Minimum Effort Media. There are new videos here on the first Friday of every month. If you would like to own your own copy of the book discussed in this video, The Heroine's Journey by Gail Carriger, I host a giveaway with each video I release on the topic. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber with notifications turned on, like the video, and leave a comment for me to randomly select. Terms and conditions are in the description. The winner from the last video is on screen right now. Please contact me at The Lazy Stoic across all social media. And thank you for watching.